Fight!
Hi, this is Chris from Kamidogu here with series co-creator Ed Boone. How you going today, Ed?
Very good, thanks.
Obviously the teaser of the game is now out in the open, and you've shown up a little bit more in the presentation a bit earlier today. How do you feel? Are you happy with the reaction you've been getting so far?
I couldn't have asked for a better reaction. You know, I think we really, I feel like we hit like a nerve with a lot of Mortal Kombat players, you know, what they would really want to see. You know, and that was really our goal in the beginning, was to identify all the things that people wanted to see in a Mortal Kombat game and deliver that as hard as possible.
Now, there's been a few questions about the game. Is the game a reboot? And if it is, what time frame is it set in?
You know, and officially it's not a reboot. I think in some ways you can think of it as a reboot. You really have to kind of see the story to kind of understand. You're really kind of reliving the events of Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3, but from the perspective of the end of Armageddon. So there's some time travel involved, and there's some, you know, reimagining of certain events that I think the players will really like the story twist that we have.
How many characters should we expect in the game, and will we see any new faces?
We don't have a final number yet, obviously, because we're like, you know, 9-10 months out from the final release. But if we have new or hidden characters, we've already, you know, decided that we weren't going to talk about them, because we really want the hidden features in the game to remain hidden and people to discover them. So there's certainly a chance for new characters. There's certainly a chance for returning other ones, and so.
Will we see any classic things like Test Your Might or Choose Your Destiny coming back at all?
You know, I guess I can't rule them out right now. We currently don't have it in the build, but it's certainly not out of the question.
Will we see any other modes coming back, like Conquest or Create a Fighter?
I don't think we're going to have a Create a Fighter in this version. I don't know if we've seen the end of Create a Fighter, but this version probably won't have one. Our story mode is going to more resemble the format that we did in our last Mortal Kombat game, as opposed to the Conquest mode.
And what about online? Are we doing anything different this time around for online mode? Obviously with the 2-on-2 fighting as well?
Sure, yeah, we're going to have the one-on-one fighting, the tag team fighting, and we're also going to have, you know, these rooms that you can go into that are everybody's kind of fighting round robin and see who can be the kind of king of the hill, where, you know, the spectators can kind of participate and, you know, lend commentary, boo, cheer, and all that. So it's a lot more of a interactive kind of spectator mode.
Obviously with the endings as well, do you think we'll see the still pictures as in the last few games, or sort of full motion video?
You know, I think it's probably going to be something in between the two. There's certainly not just going to be still images. There's going to be a lot more animation, and it'll be presented in a stylized kind of way. I don't think it's going to be rendered video like kind of we have a ton of that in our story mode, which is great, but the endings are going to be more of like a stylized, almost like a live novel, graphic novel type approach.
The final boss as well, obviously I don't know if you've decided it yet, but are we looking at maybe a new boss or someone, I guess, that we've seen before?
Well, like I said, we at this point we're only talking about the 8 characters that we have in the game right now, and so I probably shouldn't be talking about, you know, which boss is in the game and what it's like.
Mortal Kombat's been out since 1992. Do you have any plans for its 20th anniversary coming up?
No, but that's a really good question. I guess when this game comes out, it'll be 2011, which will be 19 years. And I suppose, you know, it might be cool to do something to celebrate, you know, celebrate it. I don't know, it might be cool to have all 9 games or something on one disc. I don't know if that would fit, but it'd be cool. I don't know. I hope we do something.
Obviously, you've got the Mortal Kombat Rebirth trailer that came out, that little production that was put through. There was a really positive reaction from the fan base about it. How do you guys personally feel about the whole thing?
I thought it was amazing. I thought it was really great. I was just spending a few minutes talking to the guy who played Reptile, and I might be meeting the director tomorrow, which would be cool too. I think it's a great reimagining of the story. You know, I think that the comic books have done that quite a bit, where they have somebody do like an alternate universe of Batman or Superman, and I think that fits perfectly with another Mortal Kombat movie.
All right, and finally as well, obviously everything's out in the open now. We've got fans lining up right down the corridor. Looking at the reaction, what is the one thing, I guess, that makes you most proud of this game?
I think to me it's the whole process of the talking with players and how it brings up their memories of playing the first games. You know, like they say, oh, it makes me feel like I was playing Mortal Kombat 2, or things like that. Those are the really cool things, because that was really our goal, was to kind of celebrate those first 3 games.
All right, thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks. All right.
First saw Kratos, we thought, oh my god, what a great Mortal Kombat character he would make. He's ripping people in half, he's doing all this kind of crazy stuff, and he would do all these mini fatalities throughout the game. He's so mad, angry, bitter, he's so not funny.
Early concepts of him looked even more like a Mortal Kombat character. Like, our art director at the time came in and he's like, I think we're gonna get sued. And because he looked just like a Mortal Kombat character, like God of War 3, we definitely amped up visceral nature to the moves, like just kind of the texture to the kills. Made special text so that we could do these crazy kills. That was directly because of Mortal Kombat.
Round 1, fight!
He has more weapons in this game than any of our other characters. We jam-packed as much Kratos recognizable elements into his character that anybody who's played it is gonna feel, really at home.
No, but we were just talking about the thing that I thought was gonna get left on the cutting room floor, and it got in the game. No way they're gonna get this in there.
I would draw these little stick figures of moves that we want him to do, and the guys kind of came back and, gave us feedback. It was very collaborative from an idea standpoint, but then we started sending them builds, and that's when they got specific. His chains here need to be a tiny bit more gold here and a little less yellow. And pretty detailed comments that we got back from him. He's fighting on this bridge that is very kind of hit reminiscent. And he actually has a fight that a little bit more like a fighting game mechanic. And so when we saw that, we were just like, oh, that's right. It's writing itself. I don't want to give away the stage fatality, but it's awesome. It's very PlayStation 3. It's very Kratos. It's very Mortal Kombat.
The things that were done to Kratos, not things that we were used to seeing and not necessarily comfortable with. But I mean, he gets torn apart. But I've never seen his skull before until this game, so.
Kratos wins. Fatality.
Back at Gamescom 2010, I'm Dan Capini and I'm joined by Mr. Ed Boon. Thank you, Ed.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you've announced a couple of new characters here at Gamescom. Can you give us a run through exactly who players can expect to see?
Well, here at the show, we've just announced Cyrex and Katana. Cyrex from MK3 and Katana from Mortal Kombat 2, and as well as a couple of backgrounds from Mortal Kombat 3, the Bell Tower and the desert, kind of reimagined with today's latest technology.
Now there's a few throwbacks. Johnny Cage, we saw his fatality. There's a few noticeable, memorable moments to it, and there are a few new ones thrown into the mix as well. Yeah. What is the ratio of kind of old to new in this title?
In terms of fatalities?
Across everything.
Across everything? We're trying to find that right balance between, kind of tapping on the nostalgia feel that people have from the first 3 games, their favorite fatalities and whatnot, but also introducing a lot more in terms of the deeper gameplay, a lot more, moments for the kind of hardcore fighting game player, while keeping it accessible, which has always been a big part of Mortal Kombat.
Now, we saw about 26 characters waiting to sit on the dash there to be played. Obviously, there's a huge legacy with this title. How do you choose who goes into a title like a Mortal Kombat reboot?
Well, this one was easy because, our story was always kind of focused on the chapters of Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. So, I think if you have a favorite character from one of those games, there's a pretty good chance it's going to be in this game. At the same time, we want to have new characters that, either from the later games or a brand new thing, and there's a great opportunity with DLC, downloadable characters, that we can actually put those into the game after the game's already shipped.
Can you tell us anything about your future plans for DLC?
Well, we plan on supporting it very heavily, and I think characters seems to be the one that people really ask about the most. But we have an infrastructure in place that lets us do new arenas, new fatalities, new characters. So it's really just up to what we feel the players want the most. Then that's what we're going to deliver.
Now, on the back of Mortal Kombat vs. DC, how important was it to get the blood and the gore back into this title?
You know what? It was. I think the game really set us up for a great opportunity. We had a break from the M-rated games, and now there's this big void, this hunger for Mortal Kombat to return, and that's exactly what it's doing. It's coming back in terms of the M-rated presentation, deeper gameplay, 2D fighting, which is a big thing that's been asked for a lot, and fatalities. So, I think there's just such a great opportunity that we're jumping all over with this game.
Now, as a man that lives and breathes Mortal Kombat, and I follow you on Twitter, and you do mention Mortal Kombat once or twice, does that make you the best person to be working on a project like this, or the toughest, harshest critic?
Of the game? I think we're all really critical of ourselves. We look at the game, we see the flaws, so we see stuff that we need to fix. And but shows like this and shows like E3 and the really positive reception that we're getting so far is it's reassuring, because, like I said, we're always looking at the things that we want to fix and improve on. But things like this and getting that the best of nominee for this game is really cool, and it's pretty rewarding.
Now, you're showing it here in Germany. It's playable. We've seen titles like this, especially with Decapitation, obviously with the USK and the local classification board within Australia. Are you at all concerned about needing to tone the game down for sensitive regions?
We are concerned. That's something that we plan on aggressively, working with them to try to find a balance that is, not compromising to the game's integrity, but also not, violating any of the laws that they have here. So it's certainly gonna be a lot of work, but we're definitely willing to put it in.
Now, I think probably the most important question is, when can people get their hands on this one, and which platforms?
Well, Mortal Kombat's going to be available on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 in spring of 2011.
Ed, thank you very much for your time. And that's a quick look at Mortal Kombat. Stay tuned for GameSpot's ongoing coverage from Gamescom 2010.
Traditionally, two-player games has been kind of like the main focus of most fighting games, and but we've always wanted to have something special for somebody to play alone as a single-player game. So we have our kind of traditional story mode, but we've added this new mode called a Challenge Tower, which is 300 challenges that we're giving to the player. It's a very long single-player experience, and the story mode is something that we also haven't really elaborated much on. So it's really a continuation of the Mortal Kombat Armageddon timeline, but there's a bit of a Back to the Future thing where you time travel back to the first Mortal Kombat, and we're seeing the events unfold, but the players kind of altering reality. So different things happen. So certain events that you're expecting to happen don't, and certain events that you're kind of surprised with, but it's the same underlying Mortal Kombat. I really feel like this is the most interesting story-wise of any of the Mortal Kombat games that we've ever released. In terms of like the fighting mechanic, we're going back to 2D gameplay, you know, going back to the fatalities, the kind of bloody presentation, and a lot of the secrets that have been part of Mortal Kombat. So we're really thinking about Mortal Kombat 2 and 3, what your experience was there, all the elements we're really trying to present in the most, you know, today's current technology, a lot more sophisticated way. I think today's player wants a little bit more quicker kind of satisfaction, so we're giving them some of the tools to do fatalities in the beginning, but at the same time we have other fatalities that we're not documenting, so we do want to have that element of people, you know, still discovering the game. So we're trying to kind of keep a balance between the two.
Hello, it's me, Mario. Woohoo! You watching GRTV, my favorite. Wahoo!
So Mortal Kombat, once again, is a series of a long history now. So what are you bringing to the Mortal Kombat franchise this time?
I think you can describe this Mortal Kombat game as a return. And, you know, Mortal Kombat's had a number of iterations where we've made some changes and we made some pretty big departures. The last game that we did was actually a T-rated game. It was actually for younger audiences, and that created kind of like a desire to see Mortal Kombat return to where it is. This is what it's doing. It's returning in every single way in terms of the presentation. It's a mature rated presentation, so we have fatalities back, kind of signature Mortal Kombat feature. It's going back to the 2D combat, which is a big part, and it's a lot more accessible because of that. And it's also easily the deepest Mortal Kombat in terms of fighting mechanic. You know, we have the first time we're really catering to the hardcore fighting game player.
Do you think that that's something for the fighting genre in general? Because we've seen that with Street Fighter coming out again with a 2D fighter. Marvel vs. Capcom is coming back. Do you think that's a trend that we'll see more of in the years to come?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I think we're witnessing it not just in fighting game categories, but in other categories as well. You know, we're seeing like a Sonic the Hedgehog kind of going back to it, you know, Twisted Metal, and then Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. I think it's a general trend in, you know, that there seems to be a wave of these games kind of going back.
Do you think that's a way to keep them modern at the same time?
Yes, I think, you know, a lot of these games, they're kind of showing the kind of classic gameplay, classic features that they remember, but with the most sophisticated graphics. You know, Mortal Kombat, we're going back to the 2D gameplay, but it's easily the most sophisticated presentation that we're giving in terms of graphics, animation, and even gameplay. It's a lot deeper gameplay.
A lot of the fighting genre also for people like me can be quite esoteric at times, but I'll give you the chance anyway to perhaps explain the more finer details of the game mechanics.
Sure. It's like I said, we're returning to the 2D gameplay, so I really feel that like the kind of mass market people will be able to pick up the game, throw Scorpion Spear, throw you know, Sub-Zero's Ice Ball. Everybody will still be able to do that. But now we're adding kind of like these smaller windows of opportunity for the hardcore players to interrupt their special move, enhance their special move, or combine their special move with another special move. And that's really like the kind of the magic that I feel is we're going to be really catering to those more hardcore players with those opportunities, but at the same time still letting somebody tap triangle will throw the spear, and then you'll still be able to kind of enjoy it from a more casual level.
Did you ever fear with you talked about T-rated game, and of course as a DC Universe crossover, did you ever feel like Mortal Kombat risked losing its sense of identity in general?
Yeah, you know, whenever we make a big departure, there's always a concern on our part about, you know, are you going to alienate any of the people? But at the same time, when, you know, the last game was the 8th iteration of Mortal Kombat, I don't think you can kind of repeat the same formula over and over again, or you're just going to see your sales going down and down. So we were nervous about it, but, you know, we sold, you know, 2.5 million units, and so we were happy with the results. And at the same time, I think it created a nice void for a period of time that people haven't seen a traditional M-rated Mortal Kombat game, and that void is what we're filling with this game.
Is there anything else you feel that you mentioned improved graphics, of course, with the new generations of hardware and so on, always improving. But is there anything else you can do now that wasn't possible when games like Mortal Kombat started coming out?
Sure. Online is a big component. You know, we have in the first Mortal Kombat, it was an arcade game. It was much more of a social experience, and you'd play against people, and that was a big part of the magic of the game, is fighting against strangers. There was a period of time when the arcades went away, but online didn't have a big presence. Now online's a huge presence, and so you can always find players to play against. And now with this new Mortal Kombat, we have features where 8 people can get into a room and kind of battle it out with each other and see who's kind of king of the hill. We have a lot more of these alternate modes to a story mode and a challenge mode. So it's game feature-wise, you know, online and just the current console sophistication allows us to do a lot more.
Is there anything that you really felt was important to put into this game, more important than anything else?
To me, what we're most excited about is kind of like our new fighting mechanic. You know, like I said, you really, every once in a while, you got to just kind of wipe the slate clean and present a new game to players. And that's what we're really doing, is presenting the 2D fighting with the deeper fighting engine, I think, is a huge component of it. And at the same time, presenting players with things that they're familiar with, you know, some of our backgrounds and our characters and features, you know, the toasty guy, all of those kind of crazy things, but with the current technology. I think the combination of those two is really kind of like the magic that we're tapping into.
What do you think is it that brings people back to the fighting genre over and over again? Because we've seen during a couple of years, we saw mostly, you know, the grades started to dip for several series. We saw certain game companies, who shall not be mentioned, just put out iteration after iteration of their games instead of making new stuff. What do you think is that attracts people back to just 2 characters duking it out? Or did I just answer my own question there?
I think there is a simplicity, a basic simplicity to 2 people fighting it out, you know, with you know, you're not worried about, RTS games where you have 10 things happening at the same time. It's basically, you know, is my punch going to hit you? Is my kick going to hit you? And then all of a sudden you do, to me, what separates Mortal Kombat from other games is we have the kind of crazy moves. You know, people teleport off the side of the screen, and the casual player can access those moves. Some of the fighting games have some great features, and I'm a big fan of them, but I see a move that's really complicated to do, and I realize, you know what, 90% of the audience is not going to be able to enjoy this move or appreciate it. And with Mortal Kombat, we always kind of put it to the point where we're saying, you know, we want most people to be able to access this move and have fun with it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
We're standing here with Aaron in the Mortal Kombat suite. It's okay to say that without sounding too gory. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're showing off here at GDC?
We've got a lot of new content that we're showing here at GDC. First off, a few new characters. We've got Ermac, Noob, and Kano playable for the first time. We had also previously announced Jax and Sonya, but this is the first time they're actually playable for everybody. In addition to that, we've got a couple new environments. We've got the subway and Goro's Lair that people are seeing for the first time, and also Challenge Tower, which is a huge addition to the game. It's 300 unique missions and anywhere from 8 to 10 hours of gameplay.
Yeah, I got to experience a little bit of the Challenge Tower, and it starts out pretty hard right from the get-go. Could you give us a little brief outlook of what kind of challenges there are in the tower and some of the more grueling ones?
There's a number of different missions that you'll find in the tower, and some of them are easier than others. You know, we try to start you out a little bit easier, which is some, challenges where you learn some offensive and some defensive moves. But then as you move up the tower, there's definitely an increase in difficulty. But some of them are straightforward fights. You just have to get past a character. Others have different modifiers to the action to keep things a little more interesting, like defeat opponent without using any of your special moves, or defeat opponent and you don't have the ability to block, these kinds of things. But again, there's just a phenomenal amount of content there, and I can't wait to see people's reactions when they get to the very top of the tower. So,
And you're also paying a bit tribute to the heritage of the series. And could you give us some details on what you're doing there and what people, will remember from an earlier game?
Sure. We've got a few modes that we brought back from earlier Mortal Kombat games. People might recognize like Test Your Might, Test Your Strike, and Test Your Sight. Anybody that's played a Mortal Kombat game in the past is probably already familiar with those. This time we've also got a new feature, and it's one of my favorites in the game. It's called Test Your Luck. And I can't wait to see people's reactions to this one. It's just one of the most over-the-top modes that you will ever see.
You've also added 3D to the experience. Could you tell us a little bit about why you wanted to do that and what it means for the experience? What it adds?
Well, we've got full stereoscopic 3D on the PlayStation version of the game, and it's just, we had the opportunity to try it out, and once we started experimenting, the game looks fantastic in 3D. The 2D fighting plane really plays well, like when you get a really great sense of depth when you're fighting in 3D. So it's just something we wanted to try. It came out really well, and I definitely encourage the people that have a PlayStation to try it out in 3D if they get a chance.
I tried it a little bit, and what I was happy about, because sometimes when you play a 3D game, it's a little bit overwhelming and it tires you a little bit, but it's fairly low key. It doesn't really pop up too much, so you can actually sit and play for it for an hour or something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a subtle 3D effect. I think it is definitely easier on your eyes over a long play session, but there is enough depth there, though, that there's a big difference between playing it in 3D versus a regular 2D TV. So it's, like I said, once again, I encourage people that have the equipment to go ahead and try it out.
And the PS3 version has a guest appearance, I understand?
There is a guest in the PS3 build. Kratos is making an appearance in this game. We're incredibly excited to have him in the game. He's a great fit for Mortal Kombat.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, try to imagine another character that's a better fit for our universe. So can't wait for people to get their hands on with Kratos.
Not like adding Mario or something like that.
Right, exactly. I saw online one time somebody said we should have Blinks the cat in the game, and not necessarily a very good idea.
No, and I don't really see anyone on the corresponding Microsoft side that it would be a perfect fit, because Master Chief isn't really a fighter, is he?
Master Chief is an interesting character on his own right. We haven't really just talked about any exclusive characters for the Microsoft Xbox right now. So,
could you tell us a little bit about stick support? I noticed you have a stick over there, and the support for the hardcore gamers who'd like to go all out and spend a fortune on their game.
Yeah, we actually partnered with PDP this time. Our designers spent a lot of time working with them to create a fight stick that is one of the best that I've ever seen. It's a really well-built stick. It's got great high-quality components in it. And for anybody that played Mortal Kombat back in the arcade days, the button layout is very similar to those old arcade machines. So if you were a fan of Mortal Kombat in the arcades, this should feel very instantly familiar. But it's a great peripheral. I'm really excited to have it for our game.
And a nice piece of furniture to have in your living room.
It is. It's a good-sized stick, but and it makes a nice conversation piece, if you will, if you've got it sitting in your living room. So.
All right. So I'm looking forward to playing Mortal Kombat. Is it May that it hits?
April 19th.
April 19th. So soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, it's Ricardo here at GDC in San Francisco, just off the show floor with Aaron Pieper-Gertis from NetherRealm Studios, who is here showing us the latest version of Mortal Kombat. Aaron, you guys have a lot of stuff in this version of the game, so talk to us about what you're showing off here.
We're showing off a variety of new content here at GDC this year. First off, we've already announced Jax and Sonya, but they're playable for the first time. We've also got Kano, Ermac, and Noob in the build, so that people can play them. Few new environments. We've got the subway and Goro's lair that we're showing off for the first time, and probably most exciting, we're showing off the challenge tower, which is 300 unique missions. It's a lot of good content that people can work through to add to the main core of the game.
Now we're checking this out on the Xbox and the PS3. PS3 in 3D. Was it a little challenging to kind of squeeze that in on top of everything else?
Well, it's actually, we've been working on 3D for quite a while. We've got some great, very talented programmers at the studio that were dedicated to 3D. So It was challenging, yes, but like I said, they pulled it off really well. I'm excited for people to see the game in 3D. So if you've got a PS3 at home and a 3D TV, you should definitely check it out.
Now, the other little surprise we had here was the fight stick, which we've heard about, but we finally got a chance to sit down and try. How involved were you guys in the development? We've heard that you were, so talk to us about that.
Our designers were directly involved with the fight sticks. PDP came on site. They sat down with them, and it's the old school arcade layout in terms of the buttons and everything. We've got some really high quality components in the stick. It's a really, really great stick if you prefer that over the regular controllers. But they were heavily involved with the design of it.
All right, Aaron, thanks. The game's looking great. Well, there you go. That is what we've got on Mortal Kombat right now. If you missed it, we just had it on Today on the Spot, which is pretty awesome. There's a great demo with Ed Boon. But as far as for more, just keep your eyes on the site. We're going to have a lot more on the game ahead of its April release.